Welcome to our channel, where incredible stories of courage and humanity come to life. We're so glad you're here with us today. As you settle in, let us know where you're watching from in the comments below. We love hearing from our global community. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss out on tomorrow's special story. Each day, we bring you moments that will touch your heart and remind you of the power of the human spirit. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this unforgettable journey with us. This Royal Guard's heartfelt act for a sick boy will leave you in tears. On a crisp morning at Buckingham Palace, the air carried the first hints of autumn, and the sun cast long shadows across the courtyard. Guard Sergeant Chris Williams stood motionless at his post, a figure of unwavering discipline. At 35, with 15 years of service behind him, including 3 tours in Afghanistan, Williams had mastered the art of remaining perfectly still while maintaining a heightened awareness of his surroundings. Every whisper of a tourist, every shuffle of feet, and every shift in the crowd's energy never escaped his notice. His gaze remained fixed as he stood like a statue, guarding one of the most famous landmarks in the world. It was on this particular morning, as the courtyard began to fill with tourists, that he first noticed a small family approaching from the east gate. The father walked with a protective stance, clearly guarding something precious, while the mother's hands hovered close to her son, ready to support him. But it wasn't the parents who caught William's attention. It was the small boy walking between them, no older than 9. His face was pale, but his eyes were full of wonder. Despite the obvious signs of illness, the oversized hoodie that hung loose on his thin frame, the woolen beanie covering his bald head, there was something in his eyes that drew William's gaze. A fierce spark of life that seemed to shine brighter than his frailty. As the family walked closer, the boy's voice rang out across the courtyard, surprising everyone with its strength. "Daddy, look!" he exclaimed. "It's really him, a real royal guard, just like in the pictures in my hospital room." His American accent marked him as a tourist, but his enthusiasm was contagious. His words had a purity, an innocence that transcended the usual excitement one might feel in such a grand setting. It was clear that, despite his obvious illness, he felt a deep admiration for the guards and their stoic presence. William stood firm, but something in the boy's unwavering approach, his determination to reach the guard despite his physical struggles, tugged at his heart. It wasn't just admiration the boy felt, it was something more profound. This child, facing a battle far beyond the guard's world of discipline and duty, was showing a bravery Williams would never forget. As Ethan continued to make his way toward the guard, his small steps were slow but determined, each one pushing through the weight of his illness. His mother's voice, laced with concern, called after him. "Ethan, honey, slow down. Remember what the doctor said about overexerting yourself." But Ethan wasn't listening. His focus was locked on the royal guard ahead, a figure that seemed to stand for everything he admired: strength, bravery, and unwavering determination. The morning crowd parted instinctively, sensing the gravity of the moment, as Ethan continued, each step bringing him closer to the object of his admiration. His father, walking just behind him, exchanged a quiet glance with a nearby veteran. "He's been in treatment for months," Ethan's dad explained, his voice catching. "The doctors said we should do this trip now, while he still has the strength. It's all he talks about, these guards, their bravery, their dedication." The veteran, clearly moved, nodded somberly. "The kid's got more courage than he knows," he muttered, his gaze fixed on Ethan's steady progress. Ethan's energy seemed to radiate with each step he took, despite the fact that his body was fragile. His illness was visible in his thin frame, his oversized hoodie hanging loose, but his spirit was strong, unbreakable. He couldn't let anything stop him, not even his own body. "Just like the soldiers in my books," he said, his voice carrying across the courtyard. The words were simple, but they carried a weight that caused the crowd to fall into a respectful silence. The closer Ethan got to Sergeant Williams, the more the crowd seemed to notice. Some wiped tears from their eyes, others simply watched in awe. Ethan had been through hell, chemotherapy, long hospital stays, the pain, but still, he was pushing forward. His heart was set on meeting the Royal Guard, and nothing was going to stop him. And in that moment, as the little boy with a big heart stood before the guard, it was clear to everyone watching that this was no ordinary encounter. It was a meeting of warriors, one in uniform, the other fighting a battle that no soldier could ever truly understand. But both shared the same courage, the same fire, the same strength to stand tall. As Ethan finally came to a stop just a few feet in front of Sergeant Chris Williams, the crowd held its breath. The boy stood there, face lifted, his small body framed by the towering figure of the guard. His eyes were wide with awe, yet there was something deeper, something powerful, shining through them. Despite the strict rules about maintaining distance, Ethan's presence felt different. His courage was undeniable, and Sergeant Williams felt a stir deep in his chest. This was no ordinary encounter. Ethan's voice, though quiet, carried with it a strength that made every word seem to echo in the stillness of the courtyard. "Sir," he said, his tone soft but filled with respect, "I've been waiting so long to meet you. Well, not you specifically," he added with a sheepish grin, "but a royal guard. I have pictures of you all over my hospital room." His voice wavered slightly, but there was no fear, only a determined calm. "I got diagnosed 6 months ago with something called acute lymphoblastic leukemia. That's a really long name for saying I have to be brave a lot." The words hit like a punch to the gut. The crowd, which had been murmuring in hushed tones, fell silent as they took in the boy's story. Ethan's smile, though faint, seemed to light up the entire courtyard. There was no self-pity in his eyes, only resolve. "The chemotherapy isn't fun," he continued. "It makes me really sick sometimes, and I lost all my hair." He tugged at his beanie, the small pins adorning it a testament to the battles he had fought, far from any battlefield that soldiers like Sergeant Williams knew. "But every time it gets really hard, I think about how you stand here, no matter what. Rain, snow, heat, nothing makes you quit. So I decided I wouldn't quit either." Sergeant Williams stood tall, his posture as perfect as always, but inside, something was shifting. This wasn't just a sick child, this was a warrior. One whose bravery wasn't measured by physical strength, but by the unbreakable spirit he carried within. Williams had seen soldiers face impossible odds, but nothing compared to the quiet courage emanating from this small boy standing before him. In that moment, the honor of meeting a royal guard didn't just belong to Ethan. It was shared between the two of them. Both stood guard, in their own ways, protecting something precious. Ethan's resolve, and William's deep respect for a different kind of bravery. As Ethan spoke, the crowd remained eerily still, their attention focused entirely on the young boy. There was an undeniable connection between him and Sergeant Chris Williams, a bond that transcended the formalities of the Royal Guard and the expectations of protocol. The air seemed to thicken, charged with the raw emotion of the moment. Ethan's words, so simple yet profound, had captured something that was felt by everyone watching. "I practice standing still like you." Ethan continued, his voice steady despite the strain in his body. "The nurses say I'm their best patient because I never complain. I tell them I'm training to be strong like the Royal Guards." William's heart tightened. He had heard stories of bravery and sacrifice on battlefields. But here, in front of him, stood a young boy, fighting a war far beyond the realm of soldiers, yet showing a courage that even the toughest of veterans could admire. Ethan reached into his pocket, pulling out a small, crumpled photograph. It was a picture of himself before the illness. A young boy with a full head of hair, full of life. "This is me before I got sick," he said, holding it up for Williams to see. "I had lots of hair then. But that's okay. Mom says the medicine that took my hair is also making me better." Ethan's words were filled with an innocence that only children can possess, but there was something else. A wisdom, a recognition of the battle he was facing. "In the hospital," he continued, his voice quieter now, "when I have to get really big needles or when the medicine makes me feel awful, I imagine I'm standing here with you, being brave, just like you." The crowd shifted uneasily, some wiping away tears, others simply taking it all in. No one could remember the last time they'd witnessed something so pure, so powerful. Ethan, despite his frailty, was teaching everyone around him what true bravery meant. It wasn't about facing a physical enemy. It wasn't about fighting in war. His battle was internal. Yet the strength he showed in the face of it all was more than anyone could have expected. The crowd could feel it. the shift from awe to something deeper, something far more human. In that moment, it wasn't just the royal guard who stood as a symbol of strength. It was the small, fragile boy who had found the courage to stand tall despite everything. And as Williams looked down at Ethan, his eyes softened. This was a moment he would never forget. As the silence stretched, Sergeant Chris Williams knew that something profound had shifted in the courtyard. Ethan Turner, a boy who had just moments before been nothing more than a child in a hoodie and a beanie, had become something more, a symbol of strength, a true warrior in his own right. The crowd had been moved beyond words, but it wasn't just Ethan's battle they had witnessed, it was his heart. And in that moment, Sergeant Williams understood the true meaning of courage. It wasn't always about facing enemies on a battlefield, standing tall against gunfire, or in the face of war. Sometimes, true bravery was about fighting battles that no one could see, like the one Ethan was enduring every single day. Ethan stood before him, a small figure in an oversized hoodie, yet somehow radiating more strength than many seasoned soldiers. His story, his words, had touched something deep within Williams. As the boy continued to smile through his pain, there was no doubt left in the guard's mind. Ethan was a warrior. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small ceremonial pin, one usually reserved for distinguished visitors. It wasn't much, but it was the most fitting tribute Williams could offer. He gently pinned it to Ethan's beanie, an honor he had never bestowed before, not on anyone. Ethan's face lit up with surprise, the small pin now attached to his hat like a badge of courage. His eyes were bright, full of pride, and for a moment it seemed as though the weight of his illness had disappeared. But it wasn't just the pin, it was the recognition that Williams had given him. A moment of acknowledgement, a recognition that he, too, was part of something greater than himself. A guardian, just like the royal guards. Williams looked down at Ethan and said, "You've taught me something today, soldier. True courage isn't about standing still when everything is calm. It's about standing tall when the world around you is in chaos, when your body tells you to fall and you refuse." His words rang out clearly, as if every one of them was meant to stay with Ethan forever. Before the family could leave, Ethan asked if he could try the Royal Guard's cap on. With careful movements, Williams allowed him to wear it, his heart swelling with pride. As the cap sat heavily on Ethan's small head, he straightened his back, mimicking the posture of the Royal Guard. "How do I look?" Ethan asked, his voice filled with excitement. "Like a true guard," Williams replied with a smile, a genuine warmth breaking through his usually stoic demeanor. For the first time that day, the two warriors, one in uniform, the other in a hoodie, stood side by side, a testament to what it truly meant to be brave. We hope you were as moved by this incredible moment as we were. Ethan Turner, a young boy battling leukemia, showed us that courage comes in many forms. His determination to meet the Royal Guard, despite the pain he endures every day, is a reminder that true bravery isn't just about physical strength. It's about the will to keep going, no matter what life throws at us. Sergeant Chris Williams, by breaking protocol and recognizing Ethan's courage, reminded us all that sometimes it's humanity that matters most. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this beautiful exchange. What did this moment mean to you? Have you ever witnessed or experienced a moment of unexpected bravery? Drop your comments below and let us know where you're watching from. Whether you're from across the street or across the globe, we'd love to connect with you. And don't forget, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you won't miss the next incredible story we're sharing tomorrow. We're all in this together, and your support means the world to us. Join the conversation, and let's continue to share these moments of courage and compassion.